I'm Dominic Aragon. I'm going to tell you why Corey Heim should be defending his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series title.
I'm at Kemp. I'll tell you why Cletus probably shouldn't be approved yet.
Welcome, everybody, to the Racing Roundtable this week. We have a very fun discussion ahead. No Tyler Jones here on the panel this week, so he has a good reason, though, for not being here. Tyler is
I
not here
doubt it.
because at the time of this
I highly
taping,
doubt it.
yeah, he's flying back from Indianapolis from covering the NCAA Final Four, the men's tournament out there. So,
I guess that's
Matt, he
fair.
left us the keys to the Cadillac. We just can't crash it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can try though.
We'll try. We'll see. I think it's a very good reason. I think he was kissing some bricks. He made a stop at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, again, a very good absence excuse reason for Tyler. But we'll hold down the fort this week. Coming up on today's show, Aaron Farrier will be joining us. He's got a great history when it comes to motorsports, NASCAR, and Hollywood, and a touring musician. He's done a little bit of everything and some really cool stories that we'll get to share here on this episode of the Racing Roundtable. And that fascinating conversation coming up in just a few minutes. Before we get to that, though, Matt, coming off the heels of the Easter weekend, how did you and your family spend it?
Well, we were busy, man. We were busy. We had a lot of family get-togethers, and we basically made a Thanksgiving dinner. So that was pretty good. We had a good time with that. Had a lot of dishes to do, but that was all right. It was a good time, and got to spend a lot of good time with family, and yeah, it was great. How about you?
Great minds must think alike. We went to my mom and dad's, and it was a Thanksgiving spread of food. So I know we've done that before. It's been years since we had a Thanksgiving meal type deal on Easter. So turkey, mashed potatoes. If you're listening from New Mexico, you know all about red and green chili. We had the red chili sauce, and oh, so good, so good spread of food, pumpkin pie. So it was like a November meal in April. Really good stuff, and Easter egg hunts too for the adults and the kids.
I dig it. We didn't do any Easter egg hunts, but maybe next year.
There you go. Maybe you'll find the golden egg next year. Speaking of golden egg, William Sawalich finding his first NASCAR Rally Auto Parts Series win, and Corey Heim breaking through for his 25th win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Your thoughts on what we saw this weekend at the Rock?
Yeah, honestly, one of the biggest takeaways I had is I couldn't believe how wide the racetrack was getting already. It seems like pretty quickly, like most repaves, especially like high bank tracks, the bottom groove really comes in and it's really tough to get off that bottom groove and makes for some unfortunately lackluster racing. But quite frankly, I thought the racing was pretty great actually, and I think it's a really great off to a really great start and think we're going to see some more of The Rock, hopefully, in the next few years. There's a lot of people there.
And speaking of racing, because you weren't here last week, but we know you had some prior commitments, you got to get behind the wheel again this past week or 2 weekends ago now out at Hickory. Tell us about your race and your race weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty cool getting the opportunity to go out to Hickory for the Arc East race. Surely that it was actually the highest rated East race I think they said in like a decade. Um, Obviously that's because the Racing Roundtable had a member
Of course.
at the track, right? That's certainly the reason, not because there was YouTube influencers or anything racing in the race. But very cool experience, awesome racetrack, and hearing a lot of rumblings that they're going to repave the place. So, uh, don't know how to feel about that. I think I'm pretty stoked to have gotten to drive on the current pavement, and yeah, it was really great, and I love getting the opportunity to do that, and appreciative of the fact that we get calls to come out and do that kind of thing, and that we're trusted to do it. But obviously, hoping we can find some funding to go and do it for real and uh, be competitive one of these times.
Your first start under your belt of 2026, and hopefully the first of many, just like another individual who's wanting to continue to make some more races. Cletus McFarland running the Rockingham race, finished 32nd, finished a few laps down there on Saturday at Rockingham. You had the opportunity to race against Cletus a few times. So what's that like from your perspective, driver's perspective too, as somebody's trying to climb the ladder and they're making these starts in these races and let's call it what it is. He looked like he struggled out there, but he did make it the distance, ran as many laps as he could. What comes to mind when you see that on the racetrack?
It would be one thing, I think, if it was influencers who weren't really like within the racing industry. But quite frankly, these guys, they probably know more about the cars than just about any other driver on the track, you know? So that's a really great thing for them, and quite frankly, they are experienced drivers, whether it's whatever it's in, right? So I think they're obviously really great for the sport. And I'll tell you what, there was more people at that short track at Hickory than any short track race I think I've been to in a very long time, at very least. And that was the loudest crowd I've heard at a short track in a very long time too. When anytime they talked to Old Squirrel, so that was a really awesome deal. Super cool to be able to be a part of it, and I think those guys are pretty good for the sport.
Very good for the sport indeed. And as we look at our guest this week too, somebody that I think has made NASCAR and motorsports better than when he found it because of his impact in the sport. This week on the Racing Roundtable, we are proud to bring in Aaron Farrier, who has not only delved in motorsports photography and public relations, but has worked with some legendary drivers, has traveled the country getting to cover this great sport that we enjoy, as well as some time as a touring musician, as a drummer. He's gotten to work. Currently, he's working with A-list Hollywood celebrities and doing their photography. So when we talked with Aaron about bringing him here on the show a few weeks back, he's been a friend of the show a long time. He's known Tyler a very long time. So Aaron, we can't thank you enough for joining us here this week here on the Racing Roundtable.
Yeah, man, it's so good to be here. I was thinking about it the other day. I've known you and Tyler for a lot of years, but I think the last time I saw Tyler, we were all sleeping on the floor of some guy's house in Daytona when we were covering a race. That was probably what 2019 or something. It's been a minute.
That sounds
Yeah,
about right. It sounds
yeah,
like anybody in this industry, Matt, right? If you're a driver, a reporter, a photographer, whatever the role is, you find where you can and you stay where you can and you try to make it
yeah.
work and you work together oftentimes.
It's a grind no matter what you're doing, just being a part of the sport. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
truly a grind. And you have to help each other. When they say NASCAR is a family or motorsports is a family, it really does sound cliche, but it
mhm.
really is true. People are willing to help up and step up. People know what it takes to try and make a living in this sport and try to help each other.
Yeah, it 100% is a family, and I still keep in contact with a lot of my family that I met through the sport. I started in racing in Nashville doing late model stuff with Sterling Marlin, and I still keep in contact. I just got off the phone with his old crew chief the other day. We caught up, and he's doing great. He started a racing parts distribution center. So if you need racing parts, Z Speed Shop, that's it. That's where you got to go.
There's the guy. And you've gotten to work with so many of these cool guys and gals over the years. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get interested in motorsports firsthand? What are some of your earliest memories in and around motorsports in general and kind of where it led to today?
Yeah, if it wasn't for motorsports, I wouldn't have a career that I have today. I can safely say that. Um, so I remember in 1995, I watched Days of Thunder on TV, and I turned it off, and I was flipping the channels after the movie, and the Bristol night race was on. I was like, hey, I just saw a movie about this. I'm gonna watch this, and it was the one where Terry Labonte, crashes over the finish line. I mean, what better way to get an
Wow.
introduction into the sport? I ended up choosing Sterling Marlin as my driver based on his car. I thought that Kodak car, that's easy to spot. That'll be my guy because I didn't know anything. I knew Dale Earnhardt and I knew Jeff Gordon and I knew you either liked one or the other, and I didn't want to do that. So I went a different route. So I chose
It'd be
Sterling.
different.
Yeah, it had to be different. I was always that way. Growing up, people like Michael Jordan, so I liked Magic Johnson. Um, So I became a huge NASCAR fan as a kid, and I live, fairly as close as you can, I guess, to Eldora Speedway. Um, so I would go to Saturday night races there and watch sprint cars and the All-Star Race and the World of Outlaws, and became a fan of Sammy Swindell and Sarah Fisher. And my dad and I would started going to the Brickyard 400 pretty much every year for the better part of 20 years. And I never thought I would be working in the sport, but cut to, 2016, I'm doing photography with Andy Dalton of the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm just on my couch one night, and I thought, man, it'd be really cool to go watch Sterling race one more time. What would be really cool is to photograph Sterling racing one more time. And I knew at the time he was racing late models in Nashville, so I emailed him, and his crew chief was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then it became, I was there every single race, and I was photographing for Sterling and designing his cars and his fire suit and doing his marketing. And that turned into becoming the track photographer for Nashville. That turned into my first assignment in NASCAR, which I believe, Dom, that I met you at my very first assignment in NASCAR. I think it was Daytona when I was shooting for Jennifer Jo Cobb and David Starr, if memory serves. I think were
Yeah, you
my two
shot for
first
Star that
assignments.
weekend. Jennifer Jo Cobb, and we'd met a few months back because at that time we were kind of knee deep working in the Jeff Bodine book, and
Right.
I think I found you on X or Twitter at that time,
Yeah.
and you were the PR person for Sterling Marlin. Like, oh, it'd be nice to see if maybe we can get Sterling
Right.
involved with the book somehow, an interview or that sort of thing. And you and I ended up meeting at it was a Hooters in Cincinnati, Ohio, because it was the
That's
race
right.
weekend for Indianapolis, and you were
Yeah.
going to the Speedway that weekend with your dad, and yeah, I think one thing led to another because the race got pushed. The Xfinity and Cup races both got moved to Monday because it was raining really bad. We had a photographer
Hmm.
that backed out or couldn't be there, and NASCAR had allowed us to swap the credential. You shot for us at Indianapolis. I don't know if you remember
That's
that. It was
right. I
a ton
do
of fun.
remember that. What was really neat about that race weekend in particular was I had gotten credentials already through Sterling, and I was taking my dad because he had never really had pit access and stuff like that before, and I had a few friends at RCR that I knew through Sterling, and yeah, it rained that whole weekend. And my dad didn't see one car go around the track, and he had the best time because we're up in the haulers and he's getting tours. And you had gotten him up into the press box so we could get some free food and all that. He just had, dude, he had such a great time. And I remember we're driving back from the Speedway, and we're in my truck, and on my dash, you see Sterling Marlin pop up because he was calling me, and I forget what he wanted. And I hang up. My dad's like, "Did you ever think that you'd be leaving the Speedway and Sterling would be calling you?" Because we used to go to that Speedway to try to meet Sterling and get his autograph back in the '90s. So it was a really special and really cool weekend for both me and my dad, and I felt bad for him because he didn't see one car go around that track. But I do remember I shot for you. I always liked shooting for you because I could always shoot whoever I wanted, as opposed to when I'm working with just one driver. I just had to shoot for that one driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. That was a really good time.
One of those cool editorial things too. I guess some inside baseball for our listeners as a media outlet. One thing we'll tell our photographers, like, hey, if you can get as many pictures of each car as you can, because you never know what's going to happen throughout a race weekend, and oftentimes too, as long as the start finish line's not in the picture, if it's in the turn, you can't tell if that picture was taken at practice or during
Yeah.
qualifying or the race. So they kind of make them a little timeless, which is awesome. And I
Yeah.
remember you delivered on a lot of those photos for us, and I think there's stuff in that archive that we have on our back end of things that we still use to this day.
Yeah, I remember I would at Bristol, there's a spot in turn 4 that is marked for Getty, and only Getty can shoot there during the race. But during practice and qualifying, it's kind of, the spot's open. You can go shoot there for a little bit. And there's etiquette that goes along to it. If another photographer wants to shoot from there, they're going to stand behind you, and then you just have an understanding. Take a few more shots, get your work done, and then let someone else have that spot. Um, so shooting turn 4 in Bristol was always my favorite spot because Getty was the only one that could shoot there, and you just do it nice and tight. You don't know if it's during the race or not. So I've still used some of those turn 4 shots.
They're great. They're timeless. They
Yeah,
work really well for coverage, and especially if you can't tell what sponsors on the wall. Maybe your diehard fans are going to be able to tell, of course, with the paint
yeah,
job or the scheme, but for the general public may not necessarily realize, okay, that picture was taken here or there. So that stuff was always cool. But
yeah.
Aaron, you had the opportunity to continue to work with Sterling too over the years, and I guess for you, like, did you ever pinch yourself? Because, like you said, you rooted for him in the '90s, and here you are, fast forward 2 decades, and you're handling everything media and PR for him in his racing days in Nashville. Did you ever have to pinch yourself, like, wow, I'm working with Sterling?
Oh yeah. Every time I was there, because I would go down, I would stay at his house. I would either sleep in the house or sleep in the shop. The shop had a bedroom, and I'm seeing Kodak and Coors stuff and everything through his career in the shop on the walls and everything, and then getting to know him more on a personal level, and then knowing his family too, who I still talk to all the time. Um, it's yeah, it was a surreal experience, and I was able to share that with my dad as well. and bring him down to a Nashville race and give him a tour of the shop. And then Sterling was there, and he got to meet Sterling on a little bit more of a personal level. It was a really cool thing, and that it was Sterling working with him that gave me the credibility to make the move into NASCAR, because he was still very well respected, and his touch on NASCAR. I don't think a lot of people realize how many people are in NASCAR and have a career in that sport because of him, because he gave them their first job. As it could have been just a rear tire changer or an interior guy or something, and they've gone on to do other things. And I know at the time when I was working in NASCAR, it was Brad Keselowski's interior guy who I met through Sterling, and then he went on to do great things with Brad. Went on to do he left Brad and went and worked for a helmet company, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me any money to plug their name. So,
Fair.
but it's those kinds of relationships, and you see this guy went on to be a crew chief for Austin Dillon, and this, it was just really cool, the impact that Sterling had on all these different people, and all those people become part of your family too. So you really can't stress it enough when you say racing is a family. But yeah, dude, I still pinch myself all the time having that experience and having worked with him for 3, 4 years.
Do you remember the first time and what the first time was like meeting him?
Yeah, I do. I had driven down to his shop on a Friday night. No, Thursday night, and they were working on the cars, getting ready for testing or practice on Friday night. They would rent out the track and split the cost between a bunch of teams, right? And Zach met me, the crew chief met me at the door, and then Sterling, at first, really like the first hour I was there, paid no attention to me. And I was like, do I engage? Do I not engage? But then by the end of the weekend, we're going out for dinner, and he's telling me stories about what happened at Daytona in 2001. And that is a conversation I never thought I'd have with him. And he brought it up. I didn't. But he would get some messages occasionally on Facebook still. And Zach and I would delete those before he would read them because he reads his messages on Facebook. I don't think people realize that. And then Zach was like, "Hey, did you delete that message that came in?" And Sterling knew what we were talking about, and he told me the story. And that's some of my first memories of him. But seeing him like get on that track, and he was what 58 or something years old at that point. I can't remember, with Parkinson's, obviously, and just saw him tear that car around that track. It was really cool, man. Yeah, that first race weekend really sticks with me. It was very impactful, and I mean, he was just a cool guy, just a
So
cool guy.
what led to actually going down there to be at that race? Kind of what led to you getting linked up there?
It was a one race deal. I just wanted to document him in this phase of his life and career, and I was just going to do it for one race. That's why I got there for the practice on the Friday night, um, and I wanted to capture. The assignment basically was capture him behind the scenes, capture the team behind the scenes at the shop, prepping the car, loading the car. And Sterling was always very hands-on with the car. He's under it working. He was the same way when he was a cup driver. So that was the assignment. It We had never really planned on it going past that weekend, but we all had a really fun time together, and they just made me part of the crew after that first weekend. And before the weekend was even up, they were like, we got another race next month. You want to come out for that? I was like, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? Um, and then that was it. It just became a thing. And we posted a lot of photos on Instagram and uh, Facebook and everything, and the fans really took to it. They really loved that behind the scenes look, and in a way that I would photograph, because I'm kind of artsy fartsy. It's not going to be your typical type of stock photography. And when we saw how the fans were reacting to the photos, We knew we were onto something. So I did it for me, but I also wanted to do it for his fans because his fans have stuck with him through everything. So that's how it came about. But it was really just supposed to be that one weekend.
That's pretty. I just think it's cool, Dom, that it's like this guy that you were rooting for all these years, and you get to go out and be for him. Is that, and you learn pretty quickly that if you come around a racetrack and you prove that you're able to you know do some work and help out, you tend to get a call back a lot of times and say, hey,
Yeah,
you busy next weekend? So
Yeah, if you
yeah,
do a
that's a
good
lot of
job,
what
they're going to call
happens.
back.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
something that you had to reach out to that first time?
yeah. Um, it was a cold call essentially,
Something you were
and
like seeking to do because it was Sterling? Is that kind of how that came
that's
about?
all it was, just
That's
because it was
awesome.
him. I
That's so
didn't really
cool.
have a drive to work in motorsports at that point. I still watched the sport, all different kinds of racing, but I didn't have on my agenda become a motorsports photographer. It just happened purely by accident. I realized that I had a knack for it. It was a different type of photography. It was something I could really sink my teeth into and be creative while providing coverage. And I, I instantly had a passion for it because two things that I really loved, motorsports and photography sort of came together. And then you have that, and you know what it's like when you work with a team and you have that bond as a team. You really start to thrive on that because it becomes, a brotherhood of sorts. And I'm still, like I said, I'm still friends with a lot of those people on that team. And anytime I go to Nashville, I try to call them up and we'll go get dinner or something like that and hang out. Uh, but it wasn't part of the plan, just like shooting people in general was never part of the plan. I wanted to shoot hotels. And then I'm shooting for Andy Dalton. That was the first like actual person that I would work with on the regular. So
That's
everything's been
snowball
on
effect.
accident. Yeah.
Total snowball effect there. And when you look at your time working with Sterling, what are some of your favorite memories or favorite stories without getting yourself in trouble that you care to share about your time working with him, especially when you were doing on a very regular, consistent basis?
Yeah. Sterling, I will say, has never changed. He's still the exact same guy. Um, he was a prankster. That didn't change. I had heard stories, and he told me stories on everybody. I got some great Earnhardt stories and everything, and I can't repeat these stories is the sad thing. But he it just goes to show that he always had a really good sense of humor, sometimes a sick and dark sense of humor, but it was always there. But I remember one time uh, at Nashville, he had qualified uh, sixth, but they put him at in 16th. And there was something wrong with the system. And we knew where he qualified, and the crew chief knew, and the crew chief and the official just start going at it, and it's getting more heated, and Sterling's just standing there watching the whole thing. And I could tell he's going to interject, and it's going to be great. I'm not going anywhere. And there's a pause in the conversation, and Sterling just kind of leans in. He goes, "All right, you can put me in 16th, but when the green flag drops, I'll be in sixth." And he was. They were come around turn three and turn four, and the green flag hadn't dropped yet. And you just see Sterling come out of line and just hit it. And he's going around all the cars, and he wasn't lying. And the crew, and the officials standing there right there in front of me. I go, he told you he was going to do this. I don't know why you're surprised by this. But I mean, he did that stuff all the time. Um, and he just didn't take any crap from anybody. But a great memory was, I think it was that first year I was with him. He ended up winning the race, and I mean, he just destroyed the field. I think he had lapped everyone almost up to the top 10. And to stand in victory lane with him, I didn't shoot it. I gave my camera to somebody else. And but to stand in victory lane because I'm wearing the team shirt and everything, with him and his daughter and his wife and everything, that was a really cool moment. I just saw that photo pop up the other day on my Facebook memories, and that's a pretty special moment right there. I should have that framed in my house. I don't know why I don't.
That needs to be framed. And maybe this is putting you on the spot, but I know when we had talked years ago, you guys kind of on the same timeline. Jeff and I were working on his book. You guys were kind of
Hmm.
working on a book project. How is
Hmm.
that going? Or is there something still in the works in regards to a book project with Sterling Marlin?
My involvement stalled out for, I mean, a variety of reasons. The idea for the book was inspired by your work with Jeff Bodine, to be perfectly honest with you. And I thought, man, that's a really good idea. Someone needs to document Sterling. Well, as a dyslexic, let me tell you, writing a book is tough, and I am super dyslexic. But then priorities changed a little bit because my career started to change a little bit, and I didn't have the time to spend with him that I needed to make that book really move forward. He had just stopped racing, so I really wasn't going to Nashville as much. So there were just a lot of things kind of working against us, and I won't say it would never happen. It certainly could. I kept notes. I journal. To this day, I'll do a shoot with somebody and I'll journal my experience uh, as my dad's advice, and that's great because you don't want to forget these stories and tidbits and life lessons that you learn when you have access to these individuals. So it could still happen, and I hope one day it happens. Whether I'll be involved with it or not, I don't know. I don't know. Time will tell.
I'm will tell on that. Well, and like, I could tell you from our experience with Jeff, it took 9 years, and we'd work on it, and then we wouldn't work on it. And like 2018, we kind of hit like this really good stride, and then
Yeah.
2019 we did it, and then the pandemic years kind of really pushed it along. So things do happen, and life can get in the way, and for a variety of reasons, maybe they don't. The stars don't align the way you want them or would like them to, but
Yeah.
in due time, those processes will. So, yeah, as somebody that took 9 years to piece the project together, you want to tell it right. And I know you, Aaron,
Yeah.
your name's attached, but you want to make sure that thing's told right.
Yeah. I think I left off trying to see what drivers would want to be a part. Everyone said yes except for one. Um, and I won't say who it was, but I will say if you watched racing in the 90s, specifically 95, you can probably figure it out. No, it might have been 96. Just watch races those 2 years and you can probably figure out who didn't want to take part. Um, But yeah, I'll never say never. I really hope it can happen. I feel better now. I didn't know it took you 9 years.
Took a long time.
So that makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. Um, but if it does happen and it's under someone else's umbrella, I think I could still at least be of some value and contribute what I know and photographs and things like that.
You
Oh
know what
yeah,
they say, guys. Perfection takes time.
That's
it
right.
does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah. Great Wall of China was not built overnight. It takes time to make these
Yeah.
things happen. So, and some of the other cool things you've done too with celebrity photography. And before we came on the show today, you were talking a little bit about how you got your start there. Yeah, tell our audience how that all started for you, and present day some of the cool projects you're working on.
Yeah, it was that also was accidental. I'm the luckiest guy I know because this was accidental. But basically, when I was working in NASCAR, essentially full time, I gave myself 3 years to turn a profit, and I was basically breaking even. While I loved the sport and I loved the camaraderie and my friends and the teams that I was working with, um, I wasn't making the living that I wanted to make. And for the uninitiated, a lot of drivers are in charge of their own marketing. And I was pivoting myself in NASCAR to be the guy that I could take your photograph, but I could also design your paint scheme and I could design your marketing and help with your PR. And I did a lot of those things for a lot of my drivers and teams. But there was a lot of competition. I mean, how many photographers are there every weekend? 200, maybe? I don't know. It's a lot, and we're all taking the same shots essentially. And some people are better at it than others. And you got guys like Nigel who have been there since the 90s, or well, he was there before then, but does an amazing job. And I didn't feel like I was going to be able to thrive as much as I wanted in the sport. Um, I noticed that the quality of photography was starting to go up, and I hoped I could help with that. Um, And I think it started to raise the bar for some of the other photographers. But I wanted to be able to make a mark, so I just took this same business model and I turned my sights onto Hollywood because actors are essentially like drivers. They're in charge of their own marketing for the most part. They need to have Instagram followers and they need to be ready to put up content with partners and whatever. But they got to be able to promote their movies and their TV shows. So I thought, well, I'm going to just try the same business model. I'm going to do it in Hollywood, and I don't have nearly the competition. Because you've got headshot photographers, they're not any competition because they're just doing pure headshots. And then you have guys who have been in Hollywood for 20 years, and I'm no competition to them. But I didn't see anybody in the middle. And I thought that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start right there in the middle. And so I just moved my business model over. The one rule I have in photography is I don't want to be in a position where I'm taking a photograph that just anyone can take. And I like that challenge of it. So um, my last year in NASCAR was my first year in Hollywood and entertainment. So there was a little bit of overlap there, and I was trying to parlay the shots I was using in NASCAR and use those to market myself in Hollywood, which is sort of hard to do. But I got a couple of stand-up comics and actors, and then it became word of mouth essentially after that. But I still wasn't getting the level of, after a year or two, the level of actor that I wanted. So I thought, all right, I'm just gonna have to find somebody. I'm gonna have to do a pro bono shoot, but I just need a face that everybody knows. And I'm watching TV one night, and I had Boston Legal on, and there was Shatner. I'm like, everybody knows Shatner. All right, Shatner's going to be my guy. So I reached out. I don't even know how I found his assistant's information, but I did. And told him what I was trying to do, told him why I wanted the photos. I was just very open about everything. A couple of weeks go by. She said, yeah, Bill said, come on out. So I did the shoot. Uh, she said, Bill, I still call him Mr. Shatner. But I went to his office. We did a photo shoot. It was supposed to be a half hour long, but he accidentally booked a commercial shoot and forgot. And he didn't want to cancel on me. He goes, can you do the shoot in 15 minutes? And I said, I only need 10. And we did it in 7. But if you go to his social media profiles, there's a picture of him in a purple shirt holding a guitar. That's from that very first shoot that I did with him. He still uses that. He still uses a lot of those photos, but after that, that gave me the credibility I needed, and I started to work with a lot of different actors in various stages. Obviously, because he was in Star Trek, I've worked in a lot with a lot of different Star Trek cast members, and Star Trek cast members and all that. It's like the racing community; everybody knows each other. It's a family, and I've gone on vacations with some of them and dinners and whatever. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of racing in that regard. But it was all because of Mr. Shatner, really, that I had a career. But that it came again. I can trace it all back to racing is where everything started. And then a couple years into doing the Hollywood thing, I did reach out to Darrell Waltrip and I said, "Hey, this is the style of portrait I'm taking. I would love to just take your portrait." And of course, I dropped Sterling's name for credibility purposes. And he's like, "Yeah, come on down." And I was in the town anyway, working. A lot of my celebrity clients actually live in Nashville, so I was in town and we did it. And I took a couple really cool portraits of DW, and again got to hear some stories. And I'm sure I wrote them down.
Oh yeah,
Man,
great shots.
that's pretty incredible. Like I feel like every step of the way so far of what you said, it's just kind of you've been like, yeah, this is my guy. This is cool. I'm reaching out and I'm gonna do this. And there you go. You
So
end
there
up
you
there.
go.
So it's
Yeah,
pretty sweet.
The worst thing they're going to say is no, and
exactly.
I get told no all the time. Who cares? But law of averages says eventually someone's going to say yes,
Right.
and I just would play into that. And I've gotten really lucky. And I think if you're honest about what it is you're trying to do, and you come at it from an honest approach, and you be in a just a good, approachable person and put out good work, um, then you increase your chances. And I had a great upbringing, and I feel like I'm a pretty easy person to get along with. And my dad taught me a good work ethic, and my brother has an amazing work ethic, and I've looked up to both of them, and that's kind of given me my fuel to try to make this stuff happen. And I'm not done in motorsports. I don't think I still have some portraits that I haven't taken of drivers. Like I mean, it would be a travesty if I never took a portrait of the king. I've taken his photo before, Sterling introduced me to him at Bristol one time, but I haven't taken his portrait. So that's on the to-do list still. And you know, I want to hit other guys up. Maybe do a coffee table book of driver portraits with the Labanis and Mark Martin and Jeff Bodine, of course. And I think it's something that the fans would enjoy, and they can still try to get those autographs if they see them around.
Oh yeah, I do well. And folks, there's a common theme here. It's taking a chance on yourself, and I think you've taken a chance on yourself with every opportunity that has been presented in front of you. And you said it best that people, the worst they can tell you is no. So you might as well
Yeah,
take the chance if you're thinking about it.
yeah. I would rather take the chance and fail at it than sit around and wonder, could I have pulled that off? Um, so if you just don't take it too seriously, and you have to be okay with things not going the way you planned it to, and if you can just let go and I just have this um it's not a mantra, but it's like we'll figure it out. It's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. And it always has. And sometimes it happens quicker than I thought, and sometimes it takes longer than I thought. Um, but it always ends up happening. And you don't know who you have to meet to get to that next thing. And I was fortunate enough that when I got into Hollywood, just like when I got into racing, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know what I was doing. But you ask questions and you just shut up and listen and learn from people around you. People have been doing it for years, and just try to apply it and then apply yourself. And then I mean, I still don't know how I got this far, but I've been so lucky to have people guide me, and to this day, I still have I'll bounce ideas and things off people. One of the best pieces of advice I got in the Hollywood industry was from an actor. His name's Jonathan Sheck. He's doing a movie with Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks right now, and he it was our very first time working together. And he said, you're really good at working with talent, but what I would tell you is don't talk to the talent like a photographer. Talk to them like you're the director, because that's what they're used to hearing. And I thought, oh, that's genius. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I started watching master classes, not of photographers, but of directors. And how are they talking to their talent? How are they guiding? So now I don't pose anyone. I will throw adjectives or moods to them, because actors, they know their body, they know their faces. So let them do what they do best. I'm just going to try to guide the mood or the direction just with that little piece of advice that has worked so well for me. And I thank Jonathan all the time for that, because he and I, of course, have stayed friends.
How can we apply this to NASCAR? Does that mean you got to talk to your drivers like a crew chief? I mean, how does that work here?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I did a lot with Jennifer Jo Cobb, and she was a riot, first of all. She was tough. Um, she still is, and she was a great driver. I just commended her because she was the driver, the owner. She wore all the hats. And I think I just talked to her like my sister. Um, what we did have to do is we had to keep it real honest. And I am honest with I I have to gain their trust really fast when I do these shoots, because a lot of times I'm in their homes or something. And with Jennifer, it was a situation where COVID was happening and they weren't letting photographers shoot. I think there were three photographers. There was a NASCAR photographer, a Getty, and an Associated Press, if memory serves. So she reassigned my role in the team, and I became the team manager. Like, what the hell do I know about running a team? I didn't, but she taught me, and so I would handle like credentialing, and I would take shots from the pit box. And then we were in St. Louis, and she goes, "Aaron, we need a rear tire changer tomorrow." And I go, "Oh, okay. Well, I think my buddy Alex, who I met on Sterling's team, he was working with a different truck team at the time." I go, "I don't think he's going over the wall. We'll bring him down." She goes, "No, no, no. Let me rephrase. You're changing rear tires tomorrow." It's like, oh, what do I know about this? So I did. I was horrible at it. because I have, especially then, virtually no upper body strength. And I put the lug nuts on backwards the first time, and I was like, "You guys didn't give me orientation, so what do you want from me?" But we were able to keep it real honest with each other and provide feedback. And I tell you what, if you can get to a place where you can provide feedback, because there's always a lot of conversations after a photo shoot, right, where we have to give feedback to one another on these finished photos, and it's easy to take that stuff personal. But I think if you can provide feedback to your driver, or your driver can provide feedback to the spotter or the crew chief, in a way it's like, look, I'm just saying all this because I care and because I want to move the team and the agenda further. That would be my biggest thing. I can't tell you how many times I heard a spotter say something to a driver. I'm like, that's not going to help anybody, you know? Or sometimes vice versa. But I think if you can get to a place where you can provide that feedback and it goes both ways, that's when you can have a lot more success. I mean, and think about it, look at Ray Abraham and Jeff Gordon. That was a dynamic duo right there. And I guarantee you that communication was next level.
I think it's funny. We were talking earlier about how if you prove, you got some work ethic and you got some passion behind the sport and you show up, you tend to get calls to do things. And that's a great example right there where you end up
Y-
as a team manager and a tire change. I mean, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
I
That's
have
incredible.
I have the whole side of that truck that I changed tires on and hanging in the garage because a few laps later, after the second stop, she blew a tire and smacked the wall. It was not, for the record, it was not one of my tires. It was the front tire.
Glad you clarified.
It was the front tire that blew, and I beat the front tire changer that second stop because I was determined to do better. So my second stop, I did much, much better. Lug nuts on correctly and everything. So when they were putting the truck in the hauler, they were cutting that side off, and I just folded it in half and put it in my pickup. Because I designed that truck, I changed tires on that truck. I had to have that as a memento. So I have a Sterling Marlin Kodak hood and then that sheet metal.
And if I remember right, too, that was, I don't know if it was the same truck or it was a different truck, got designed as a 164 and a 124 scale truck
Oh
as well,
yeah,
too. So what's that like to see your artwork come to life on a paint scheme like that, or on a model truck or car?
man, that was so cool because I collected those as a kid, and my dad would buy some for himself. So that was so cool to see artwork get turned into a die-cast model. And I've got a couple. Of course, I gave my dad one. Um, and it was kind of a surreal moment. And the childhood Aaron was pretty excited. That's another moment where I had to pinch myself for sure. I mean, there's guys who that happens to them all the time, but I never thought that. Again, it wasn't part of the plan. And it was celebrating her 10th year in the sport. So it was really cool to celebrate that with Jen and be a part of her celebration that season. So that truck we had two versions of that truck. There was a black version and a white version. And I think the black version we raced on short tracks. So it was the same paint scheme, just flipped. Um, and then the white version was super speedways and all that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And to work with Jen and her sponsors and everything, that was really special. And I wanted to make it special for her, so we wanted to have a really killer looking truck. And yeah, man, I still okay between you and me, and I guess all your listeners is every now and then I'll get on eBay and I'll see if anybody's selling them and I'll buy them.
Oh, nice. You can collect them all.
Yeah, I want to see because they're all numbered. I want to see how low of a number I can get.
There you go. Matt, I gotta say this guy, they say sometimes the impact that people have, you don't really know till way after. But Aaron and I were having a conversation. Maybe we were at Daytona. Maybe we were in Indianapolis. I can't remember. We were on pit road together, if I remember correctly. And you were kind of telling me like the do's and the don'ts, the ins and the outs of designing a paint scheme.
Mhm.
And the best advice, I think, I don't even know if you'd call it advice or just you were just sharing what you thought went into a paint scheme, is the big fat lines. You want distinguishable colors. Like if you're watching from the grandstand or you're watching from far away, you can tell what car that is. The intricate lines are nice and those little small details are great, but no one's going to be able to see that up close unless you're on pit
Yeah.
road. So you want something that's distinguishable from a great distance. And that is something you said 7, 8 years ago. And that's something
Hmm.
I think of to this day. Like Man, that car would not pass the Aaron Farrier test right now. Like
A lot of them
when I see
don't.
paint schemes drop, like that one would not pass Aaron's test there.
A lot of them don't pass, man. Yeah, we've got the technology to wrap cars now, right? And I get it. But I think some of these cars would make great show cars where you can walk up and look at it. Uh, but when I'm watching on the TV, everyone's got a driver. Everyone's got a favorite driver. And I don't care how famous that person is. Someone's there. Someone's watching that TV. And especially if you're watching a driver who doesn't break the top 20 much, they're not going to get a lot of coverage. So you want to be able to look on the TV and say, oh, there's my guy or there's my girl, right? So one of those big fat lines, and all you got to do is look at all those paint schemes from the 80s and the 90s and um, how bold and simple but brilliant they were. Sterling's Kodak number four, it's really just Kodak yellow, but the design of the number four and the way it was placed. With Jennifer, um, when you're in the truck series, you have a lot of black trucks and a lot of white trucks. And it's just because that's the default color, and it's cheaper if you don't have to wrap the whole truck. And a lot of these teams are independently owned, so they don't want to spend that money. They need to buy tires that weekend or something. So when you come at it from a functional design perspective, it was, okay, how can I get her noticed not only by her fans but by the spotter, especially in a track like Daytona or something or Michigan. You get this, they got to look 2.5 miles away, right, to see the truck. So we painted the spoiler pink, and then I think towards the end I started to make her roof pink. So all he had to do, because there were a couple other pink spoilers, I think, but I just made that roof pink. So it was nice and easy for our spotter to get up there and find her, because A, it can make a difference in her safety and the safety of the truck. But if he can spot her, a mile away and there's a wreck, and he can get her around that wreck and we can advance position, then I've done my job. Um, I will claim fame to one thing in NASCAR, and it's because of me that there was a rule change. And it was in Las Vegas. If you're familiar with the track, there's these big billboards that go all the way around the track. And I would shoot what's called engineering shots. So during practice, I would get the car or the truck coming into the turn, and I would shoot the front spoiler so the crew chief could see how that car is in relation to the track. Is it even? How close is it to the pavement? They need to know all these things, and I would send it to them in real time. And there was a bunch of shade going on the track because of these billboards. And between runs, I was in the pit or in the garage area, and we had a lot of this pink tape if we got to patch something up on the truck, right? So I took pink tape and I just put it on the front of her splitter. Now, I know the rules say you can't have anything on that splitter for the race, but they don't say anything about practice. And I needed my crew chief to be able to see that splitter and that track, because it was really hard for him to see the two. So I put pink tape on that thing. And they didn't say anything to us, but they announced a rule change the following week that you couldn't put tape on your splitter even during practice. So that's my
Aaron
claim to
Farrier
fame.
rule, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. No, but I still stand by that design rule, man. You got to be able to look at it far away, and it's got to look good. And I think a lot of small lines and everything gets jumbled together, and you're not doing your sponsors any favors by doing that. And they're paying a lot of money to be on that car or that truck. So yeah, I look at these paint schemes and I'm like, I don't know, a lot of these wouldn't get my stamp of approval. There's a couple good ones out there.
Fun stuff. And before we get to our news and notes, Aaron, other stuff that's maybe on your bucket list that you haven't had the chance to do. You've done some cool stuff in motorsports. You've gotten to tour as a musician, some great stuff in Hollywood. But what else is out there that is still a challenge that you would like to complete someday?
There's a few things. I would like to, attend the Cannes Film Festival, either in support of a client or maybe there as they have a lot of these film festivals have like studio photographers where you set up a little photo studio and the celebrity will walk in and get a portrait taken. So it would be cool to work one of those. I would love to put together a coffee table book of some kind, whether it's racing related or it could be architecturally related. I'm not sure. There's a lot of celebrities. I have a big checklist of celebrities that I want to work with. that I haven't gotten to yet. But it seems like every year I'm checking a couple of those off the list, which is kind of nice. And like I said, I've got some of those faces in NASCAR that I still want to photograph, and maybe open up a studio in Burbank. So I've got a home when I go out there that I can shoot at, but let it be something that other photographers can rent out when I'm not there working. So I mean, there's plenty of stuff that I still want to do and accomplish. I feel like I'm still in my infancy in the entertainment industry, and I've been doing that for, I don't know, 6 years now, 6.5 years or something. So I think I'm still pretty young in that industry, and I have a lot of moves to make yet. So we'll see how it goes.
We're not listening to a bucket list. We're listening to what's going to happen here, because it seems like if you will it into existence. So we look forward to watching the journey there.
I do my best. Bucket list would be I want to own a house on Lake Como and live in Italy for 3 months out of the year. That's
Keep
bucket list.
talking, man. I'm telling you.
There you go. You're speaking it into
Right
existence.
after you win the lottery and
Whatever.
you know.
I don't care how I get the money. I just want to do it.
There you go. It'll happen. We're joined
Yeah.
by Aaron Farrier this week here on the Racing Roundtable, and we're gonna be looking at our news and notes across the motorsports industry at the time of this taping. Aaron's gonna stick around and give his thoughts as to what's going on with the roundtable. We start this week with Frankie Muniz on Friday in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Race. We know that all three series are going to be racing at Bristol. Frankie will be carrying special colors: the Life is Unfair truck, the revival of Malcolm in the Middle. So see what we did here, folks, blending some TV, some truck series. It's right in Aaron's wheelhouse here,
How
right,
is
for
Frankie not a
the race
client of
on
mine?
Sunday. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? What
What?
were your thoughts when you had seen that Frankie is going to be doing the show and having the show drops Friday too, and
Yeah,
it's going to be on his truck? It's like made for perfect television.
it really is. And I had a client that did a TV show that I tried to get on Jo Cobb's truck in Daytona 2 years ago. Look, I think it's great. Frankie's clearly been a fan of this sport for a long time, and I think he's a really decent driver. And I was watching him when he was racing ARCA, and I thought, yeah, he's got it. If he can get the money behind him, then I had no doubt that he was going to make a jump over into Xfinity and maybe even hopefully Cup. I'm not sure where his passion lies. Is he passionate about racing, but does acting still to pay the bills? I'm not sure where his passion lies, but if he's passionate about racing, I say go for it, man.
And Matt, I feel like too, he's what, 39, 40 years old. He can still run competitively for a very long time. I feel like Frankie and Aaron definitely have some parallels, right? Where you can kind of gracefully bounce from one industry to another and do quite well in it. And really cool to see one of these child stars when we were growing up watching these in the mid 2000s. And here he is racing. And I think you even got to race with him yourself in the ARCA series too.
Yeah, we did. We actually started in ARCA pretty close to the same time. I remember being at the racetrack, and ironically, I've got a cousin who we were up at Berlin Raceway, and he was running full time that season, and they came out to the racetrack to, I thought, to see me, and they're like, "Yeah, we came to see Frankie." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, really appreciate that." So that
And
was
you
great.
too.
Yeah. Oh, you were here. I can't believe it. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, no, it's something else. But yeah, it sounds like great potential clientele here for you, Aaron.
Yeah, I don't understand how this never occurred to me to approach Frankie or his people. So that's my bad. I'm gonna be sending an email tonight. So Frankie, it's coming on. It's coming. We're gonna do something.
Look
Look,
at
look,
that.
look at that, Matt. The Racing Roundtable just connecting, giving people ideas to furthering motorsports in our country.
I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to it happening. If Aaron's saying it's happening, I believe it.
There we go. And speaking of drivers too, and kind of something you had alluded to, Matt, earlier on in the show on our hot takes. You have Frankie Muniz, right? Actor, YouTube or star, and then Cletus McFarland, YouTube star. While we started taping this show, Cletus McFarland had posted on Facebook that he was not approved to run Talladega. So I guess your initial thoughts there on Cletus not being able to race at Talladega here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, my hot take and maybe it wasn't that much of a hot take, that he shouldn't be approved for more yet. Um, Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything went about as expected. And quite frankly, I thought he did a great job just knowing the level that those drivers are at and knowing the level that he's at, even though he's absolutely, I saw a tweet this week that said, called him an above average driver, which I think is a perfect way to put it, because he is. But man, you don't know when you get to the O'Reilly series, that level of race car driver is like about as good as you're gonna get in American motorsports. So um, yeah, for him to jump into those cars that are probably, I would argue, are probably the hardest to drive. I mean, quite frankly, in the ranks, at least it seems, against some incredibly stiff competition. Obviously, Cup gets harder even from Xfinity, from O'Reilly's. You see a lot of those guys jump up and struggle in Cup. Connor Zilisch is a good example as of right now. I'm sure that'll change by the end of the year, but uh, even the guys who are dominating in that next series jumping into Cup. So just how talented these guys are, it really tells you. It's a great example. But yeah, I would agree that he needs a little more time. Probably doesn't need to jump into Talladega on the O'Reilly side quite
Matt
yet.
Matt Cletus seems to be a real self-aware driver, and he seems to be aware of his shortcomings. Do you
Yeah, for
think
sure.
that's gonna be his superpower and his secret weapon to try to move forward in his career because he is that way?
I think that goes a long way as a driver, and that's how you grow. Um, don't get me wrong, you got to have confidence, like confidence is a huge key to being a good race car driver. You almost have to be uh, a little extra confident than most people, but um, I think he's got that confidence behind him, especially, handling all the different feedback from all these different people these last few weeks of people saying he shouldn't have been approved and whatnot, which probably were right, but to be honest with you, he's putting up with it pretty well, and I think that's going to
Mhm.
carry him forward a lot.
I would say too, Matt, he threw himself into the deep end of the pool. He didn't choose a Martinsville. He didn't choose and Bristol. Like I think Norm Benning has compared it to fighter pilots in a gymnasium. But Rockingham seems to me like from somebody who's never driven outside of a dirt track, one of the tougher, shorter tracks that you're going to try to dive into with so many different grooves and so many bumps in the corners. It feels like Rockingham is a very hard challenge in itself.
Yeah, I'd say you're not even in the pool anymore. All right, you're dropping into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. All right, this is like as about as tough as it could possibly get, other than going straight to Cup. So, um, yeah, I think all things considered, I mean, he didn't hit nothing. I mean, maybe touched the wall or made some contact with other cars at times, but he saved it multiple times. I think there's a lot of guys who, would have lost control in those situations. So there's something to be said about the things he did do. But yeah, he was involved in the news way too much to have an opportunity to go to Talladega for sure. But I think he'll be all right. He's got some learning to do, and hopefully he does take his time a little more moving forward. But hey, if you got the funding and the opportunity, you got to go for it.
You do. You got to take life by the horns and one thing I had alluded to at the beginning of the show, and I'd be curious your guys' take on it. We look at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck schedule now, and Corey Heim's running his limited schedule. He's won 2 races. He's eligible for the Triple Challenge this weekend at Bristol. Oh, and he happens to be the points leader too. And he's missed a couple of races, but he will not be eligible to make the playoffs. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when you look at this rule, and this isn't just a Corey Heim thing, but what are we doing here? If somebody has enough points, like I don't think waiver or not, this shouldn't be an issue with somebody. Yeah, circumstances have taken him out of the truck and he's not running full time because he's pursuing other opportunities. We get it. But if you take the waiver rule away, we don't have a win in your in system anymore. I don't know if we need a waiver thing in the first place. The points to me seem like they would take care of themselves.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Um, quite frankly, if you're looking at a full season points championship and some guy misses 5 races and somehow ends up at the leading the points at the end of the deal, I mean, quite frankly, why would they not be crowned champion? In this case, why would he not be eligible for the chase? I mean, it seems silly to even have any kind of waiver, Dom. I totally agree with you on that.
Aaron,
Yeah,
I
I
offer
mean,
this with no proof, but it kind of feels like the Mark Martin rule here because Mark Martin cherry picked a lot of his races in '07 and '08, and you saw this rule get introduced in 2014. But it feels like the rest of the field's being punished for maybe something that was done 20 years ago.
yeah, and I don't understand why NASCAR has gotten away from just rewarding consistency. And uh, to Matt's point, I mean, if you're still in contention and you've missed a few races by the end of the year, that means you've been consistent when you ran, and that's good for the sport. I like that, we got back to the chase. I feel like it's a movement in the right direction. I It's not the move I want them to make, but at least it's something. Um, they just need to reward consistency. I don't know why. Why is that a hard thing? That's what every other sport
Well, it'd be
does.
legendary, right? For somebody to miss multiple races I mean, it's legendary the fact that he's at race 5, it seems absurd that he's only made 3 starts in his leading points. That
Yeah,
seems absurd to me. Like that is legendary stuff if you get to the end
yeah,
of the season and he could miss races and wrap it up early if he runs the rest of the season. I mean, that is a crazy, crazy thing and something super memorable. But it is unfortunate we're in a day and age that NASCAR basically is saying to win our championship, you have to win it how we say you have to win it. You don't
yeah,
have an opportunity to do something more unique like miss races or whatever, right? I mean, I don't think there's any problem with missing races and being ahead. If anything, it's more impressive.
yeah. NASCAR isn't rewarding consistency; they're punishing inconsistency. That's what it is.
Spot on.
It's punishment.
Great way of putting it. And we look at some other news and headlines throughout the week this week. Maybe something a little nostalgic that all of us might remember, especially you and I, Aaron, since we're the elder statesmen of this roundtable this week. CBS Sports is expecting to merge with TNT Sports this year, according to the media outlet Awful Announcing. They are reporting that CBS and TNT are looking at a potential merger later this year. And if that were to get approved, a merger would happen in Q3 of 2026. Now, this would be after the window that NASCAR and the races on TNT, the 5 race schedule that they have every year, would air. So potentially some changes in 27. But Aaron, I thought right away, what a throwback that would be if CBS Sports ends up getting NASCAR at some point again. Because last time, if memory serves correctly, was 2000, and CBS carried a bulk of the schedule a lot through the 90s, and they had their other deals with the different tracks. But what a throwback that would be to have CBS a part of NASCAR again.
Does that mean we get Dr. Jerry Punch back?
Oh,
He
don't
was
get my hopes up like that,
he
man.
was great. Was he with CBS? I don't remember who he was with now. He might have been Speed. He might have been the Speed channel back then. Regardless, let's
It was
get
Bob
Dr. Jerry
Jenkins and
Punch
Benny
back.
Parsons, right? Weren't they the CBS guys in the
Yeah.
90s and Ned
Yeah, I
Jarrett?
think you're right. Yeah, I think you're
But
right.
nonetheless, a great throwback to that blue logo. I think we've now associated CBS the last 20 some years with the NFL, and rightfully so. And like,
Yeah.
to me, folks, maybe it's an unpopular opinion here, but I think they have the best NFL theme song. NFL on Fox is great. Monday Night Football is legendary, but NFL on CBS is exceptional. I'm
They
sure they
win.
would come up with a great jingle for NASCAR too.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that's really awesome. And I didn't know TNT was still around.
Yeah.
What
So,
So
year
they
is
got
it?
the
We've got Speed technically coming back. We got I mean,
yeah.
this is pretty sweet. Keep it coming.
if we're
Where's
going to
all this
throw back,
nostalgia?
if we're going back to the 90s, then I say let's take one of the biggest athlete superstars. You may have heard of him. His name was Michael Jordan. I think he needs to take over NASCAR. He needs to just buy NASCAR because he will turn this sport into what it needs to be. Because if anyone knows how to make money, it's going to be MJ. And he loves to win, clearly, because look what his team's doing this year. But I think if anyone could save this sport, MJ could do it.
Yeah, a lot of throwback, a lot of nostalgia. Michael Jordan could be another answer. We could go down a whole rabbit hole with that too, right? With MJ and what he's been doing with the sport and his already big impact felt in his
Yeah.
what 5 years, 6 years that he's been involved heavily in NASCAR. But yeah, I look at those headlines too, Matt, and like I don't know, I look at CBS, I think nostalgia and what a full circle moment that could be with CBS potentially involved as NASCAR in 27.
Yeah, and hopefully Speed they keep expanding the Speed deal and we get some Speed channel. I love what they're doing with Tubi on the NASCAR channel. Hopefully that continues to expand, especially for free TV basically. So um, that's a great way to grow the sport, and I think that's a great opportunity to combine it all. And yeah, looking forward to CBS if that happens.
I
Look
didn't
a
I
lot
didn't know
of
Speed was coming back. But if they are, I mean, that would just be great for motorsports
It's
in
really just a
general.
podcast right now with what
Oh,
is it, Harvick and Buxton right now, right?
mm,
On
Yeah, they're doing that like every Monday or something. It's running on Fox
Yeah,
Sports 1, if
yeah,
I remember
which is
correctly.
cool, seeing the branding and they're taking advantage of the same studio, I guess, that they did in the past. So,
mm,
hopefully they continue to expand that and
yeah.
build on that.
Yeah, just getting started. And looking ahead to this weekend, of course, all three series are in action at Bristol Motor Speedway, one of the rare triple action weekends for the NASCAR National Touring Series. Aaron, one thing we do on the show before we get out of here is we look at the odds for the upcoming race weekend. I don't know if you're a gambling guy or not, but one thing we have a lot of fun with is the panel predicting who they think odds makers are saying are the odds-on favorites. So if you had to take a guess, since you're a guest, we'll let you go first this week. Who do you think odds makers are saying the odds-on favorite is to win the Food City 500? What do you think their odds are at?
Well, I'm going to assume that they're going to go with Tyler Reddick this weekend because I mean, dude's on fire. Now the thing with the Bristol is it's attrition. You got to be able to just survive the race. But I think he knows when to be aggressive and he knows how to protect his car. So I'm just going to go. I don't know if that's the popular choice in there, but that's who I'm going to go with.
Aaron's going to say Tyler Reddick. What do you say, Matt? Who do you think odds makers are saying is the number one guy?
Well, I think it probably should be Tyler Reddick, but I'll be honest with you, man. It doesn't seem like his odds are budging. Like, what has he won four of the first six? And I think he's been, I don't remember what it was, but it was like some crazy, like 12 to 1 or 16 to 1, some crazy thing every week so far. So, uh, I think maybe his odds are better, but I'm gonna go with either see Bell or Larson. Let's go with Christopher Bell. And I don't know what 8 to 1. I don't know what's good. I haven't learned that yet.
No problem. Those both guys did win last year. If you're looking at the odds at the time of this taping, the Caesar Sportsbook is saying Kyle Larson is your odds-on favorite to win the Food City 500 at plus
Oh,
315 or about 3.1 to 1. Denny Hamlin 5 to 1. Ryan Blaney 6 to 1. Christopher Bell 6.5 to 1. Ty Gibbs, who's never won a Cup race, 7 to 1. I think that's the shortest odds we've seen in the Cup Series for him yet to this point. Chase Briscoe 11 to 1. Chase Elliott and William Byron, Hendrick Motorsports teammates, each at 12 to 1. Carson Hocevar, also never won in Cup, 18 to 1. Brad Keselowski, a former Bristol winner, at 20 to 1. And as you work your way down the list, you look at your longest shots for the race. Those include Noah Gregson, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst at 750 to 1. Ty Dillon, 1,500 to 1. And then Chad Fincham and Cody Ware at the bottom, each at 2,500 to 1.
oh, wow. I'd love to see. Chad was one of my clients. I designed one of his cars for Daytona. I'd love to see Chad do something great at
For
Bristol.
that year that you had like so many clients there in the Daytona race. You had Chad, you had David, you had Jennifer, Jo Cobb.
hmm I
Was
think
it
I
the
had,
MBM car too or something? You had a few clients like, across all
yeah,
garages.
and I think I had Starcom Racing. That would have been who was running the 00.
Was
Is
that
that
Quinn?
Landon Castle?
It was Landon Castle. I think I had him, or maybe that was the week after when we were in Vegas. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I had him at Daytona that year. I had a full roster that year. It was a good time.
This dude was busy everywhere, man. I'd follow him kind of around just to see what he was up to. And man, run around like a chicken without a head. There was like every minute was accounted for. I remember I even ran across the street to go grab dinner. And I was like, Aaron, do you want me to grab your dinner? He's like, dude, that'd be great. Please. I can't break away. Couldn't even eat.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Daytona, you're not getting anywhere quickly. It's when you're on foot, and I don't think people realize, if you're shooting in turn one and then you got to go and shoot in turn four, you're walking a mile and a half to get there, and it's not a straight shot. So I was in good
lot
shape
of
back
ground to
then.
cover.
Yeah.
So
I always had a good tan. I was in good shape.
yeah, that's true. You're never going to be short of making steps at a racetrack, especially a big place like that,
No.
Daytona or Talladega, to cover a lot of ground like you do at those facilities. So time to go around the room. Who's everyone picking for Bristol? Who is going to win the Food City 500? Matt, let's start with you.
Oh man, I think Kyle Larson's due. I think it's time for the old five car to get back in victory lane. He's almost on a year-long winless streak at this point. Believe it or not, coming off the championship. So we'll see. I think he's going to get it done this weekend.
Matt's going Kyle Larson. Let's say you, Aaron.
Solid choice. I'm gonna have to go with Ryan Blaney. Uh, he just he knows how to get down and dirty at these little short tracks and everything, and he's not scared of Bristol. I think it's gonna be Ryan Blaney.
Aaron's going Ryan Blaney. I'm going a driver. I've picked him before. He's never won a cup race. I had said earlier in this show, probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Matt, that he was going to have a breakout year, and he already seems to have a career year in the makes. Give me Ty Gibbs to take the win in the Food City 500 this Sunday.
I like it. I like it. Should we give Tyler a pick? I think he wanted Brad Keselowski.
Sounds
He
about right. Let's give him Brad
yeah.
Keselowski. Tyler
I
picks
dig
Brad
it.
Keselowski de facto.
Sound good. Sounds good.
Yeah, we're really high on the Brad Keselowski train, Aaron, that it's going to be a good comeback year. If there was a comeback player of the year or comeback driver award, I personally think Keselowski is going to earn that this year. But Tyler is thinking Keselowski is just steadily on that back half mountain declining. Where do you
Mm,
fall on that?
I don't know. It seems like so far this year, both young talent and veteran talent are both really doing well. And I feel like Brad has never really given up and always advancing his career. If anybody could do it, it'd be Brad for sure.
Seems like he's poised to do it. And when you come back from an injury, there's just something about that. I think you know what could be taken away from you, and
Yeah,
especially in a performance-based cutthroat industry that these guys work in, I think there's even more motivation to go out and just try to succeed at what you're doing. Aaron, it's been a pleasure having you here on the Racing Roundtable. We're going to have you back, but before we get out of here today, tell us where we can follow along your work, what you're going to be doing
yeah,
over the next couple of weeks, and if somebody wants to connect it, how they can reach out.
absolutely. You can check me out on Instagram at Aaron Farrier, and you can go to my website, aaronfarrier.com. I'm easy to reach on both. Lots of great stuff happening right now. I just finished a photo shoot with Teller of Penn and Teller, so those photos are slowly getting trickled out. I'll be in LA in 2 weeks shooting with some really incredible people that I never say who I'm shooting before it happens. But we're doing a mix of musicians, some actors, and some actors who are musicians. So it's going to be a really fun trip. And I'll be out there and in Nashville a couple times this year. So I'll be all over. And if you guys just are interested in seeing some great photos of maybe some of your favorite actors, then I don't know, stay tuned. Maybe I'll have one of them.
And if someone wants to hire you, how do they reach out? How do they get in touch to make that happen?
You call my agent. No, you just go to aaronfarrier.com and you can just contact me right there. And I do photograph more than just celebrities. So race teams and drivers or someone who owns a salon down the road, I'll still take your photograph. But um, I think people are always scared to ask me to do that kind of stuff. But I still do it all the time. I love helping small businesses and performers who are just starting out or athletes who are just starting out, but they need some solid assets to help them advance their career, then I'm more than happy to help out.
I have to ask your weddings. Do you shoot weddings, quinceañeras, all the cool
There
milestone
is
events?
not enough money on this planet to get me to shoot a wedding. It's not happening.
So we can rule that. If somebody's thinking for hire for a wedding, do not hire Aaron.
I'm not your guy. I got a couple people that I'll refer you to, but I'm not your guy.
Okay. Great stuff there. How about you, Matt? What's going to be
That's
keeping
not on
you
the
busy?
bucket list for you, Aaron.
Yeah,
No,
there you
it's
go.
not.
Uh,
Yeah.
we've had a busy week. We've got a busy week ahead. Heading out to um, well, first and foremost, excited this week we got to announce our extension with ELH Detailing. We're going another year with them, and uh, you know, they're helping us a lot to get us started on our mission to get back to Flat Rock and the Arc East race, and hopefully have a shot to win that thing this year. So excited to have them back on board this year. It's going to be a lot of fun, and actually heading out to Flat Rock tomorrow, heading out for their pre-race press conference, and excited to be a part of that with a few other drivers, and should be a good time. And this weekend, no racing this weekend, but hopefully next weekend we'll see if something comes together for Kansas.
Yes, I like that hat too, by the way. That logo, I've always thought it's a very sharp logo. You have the nice white lettering, the red detailing with the car outline. Again, I think that goes with the Aaron Ferry rule there. You want something that is so distinguishable you can see it from a distance.
Yep. That
Telling you,
had that had does it.
solid
It
lines,
passes. It
solid
passes.
lines. It's good to know. I'll let Eddie over there let him know. We're doing some cool things too this year with our partnership um with Can't Make a Dream, and excited to support that cause for Eddie. He's pretty passionate about it, and um was affected by them positively in his childhood. So excited to do some fun stuff with them there.
Awesome. Look forward to hearing more about that on next week's show. And next week we will have you've probably seen his stuff on X. You've definitely seen his stuff. In fact, Mike Joy was talking about him a couple of weeks back on the broadcast. Bonecos do Bruno, if I'm saying that right, hopefully, also known as Comics by Bruno. He's the guy that does all the cool NASCAR style comics, the newspaper NASCAR Illustrated style comics that go up on X, Facebook, and Instagram. So he will be joining us next week, and he's across the pond. So he's going to be staying up way, hopefully not too past his bedtime to join us here on the Racing Roundtable. And Tyler Jones should be back at the helm next week. I don't think we crashed the Cadillac this week, Matt.
A couple dings and dents, but I think she's still running. We might be
Yeah.
able to buff him out before Tyler gets back. So he may never know.
And I guess this is the part where I have to put my best Tyler Jones on it. Subscribe to the show. New episodes each and every week on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and X. Leave a 5-star review or don't leave one at all. Subscribe to the Racing Roundtable. There's my best, Tyler. That kind of hurts
That's
my voice
pretty
doing
good.
that. Maybe just got to leave that to
That's
him.
good.
That's pretty good.
Tell Tyler I said
Tyler
hi.
Jones is here. So glad you're with us.
That's great.
On that
great.
note, we will end this edition of the Racing Roundtable. You got to reach out to us, email, social media. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. Who should we have on future episodes here on the Racing Roundtable? For Aaron Farrier, Matt Kemp, I'm Dominic Aragon. This has been another edition of the Racing Roundtable. We will see you next week. So long.